You know, they're coming in from momentum, playing Ascend. They've learned a little bit about themselves here. And Quadrant obviously having a bit of a shaky start to this Pro Series week number 4. This is going to be the maps and modes and exactly what is going to be going on. Gaskin, I want to start with you here. Who right now do you think has the better kind of chance in this best of 5 series here? Because obviously HMCA, yes, it was a bit of a kind of sad affair. Obviously 3-0, nobody likes getting 3-0'd in a best of 5, but they would have learned things. And the one thing that we talked about, Gaskin, was about, you know, learning a few things about yourself as a team and trying new things against Ascend and being able to bounce back. What do you think they did learn that they can bring into this series here?
I'm loving this matchup right here. Dan, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. This is definitely going to be an exciting one because HMCA will want to prove that they can get top 2 back-to-back. And Quadrant, they want to be on that revenge tour. They want to prove that they also are the number 2 team. So there is a lot riding on this. Of course, prize money only for the top 2 teams as well here. So even though seeding points are great for getting top 3, it's just that extra little bit sweeter being able to push yourselves into that grand final. For Quadrant, I do think they look like a different beast this week. It has to be said. I was a little bit worried about them in previous weeks. There was a couple of things that didn't go right for them, but in scrims, they've been performing so well against all of these teams. They've been beating them so successfully and really dominating, but I need to see it happen once more. They've got one final hurdle before that grand final.
One final hurdle, but man, is it a big one here. When it's multiple players going down, immediately going to start here with Fragxr. 2 of his teammates are going to go down, so easy setup going in favor of HMCA, at least as far as their numbers go. Ramirez now going in early for Charlie, but the nades are going to start to come in. TchiK able to get the backside, but catches a shock rifle to the dome. The trades are going to come in, and finally HMCA able to hop onto 2 strongholds here and are now putting the first points on the board.
It is worth noting that Quadrant were very close to being eliminated earlier, but had a really good comeback, which would have given them so much confidence and momentum coming into the rest of these series. It's very easy to get your head down after you've been battered, really, by another team, and that's the worry here for HMCA. I think that's what you and Lottie were alluding to here, that after you get 3-0'd in that fashion, like, what does that do to the mindset? Are you able to just easily forget it? Is there any conversation going on in the camp about what went wrong? I know that this HMCA roster have the experience to put that behind them, though, and I'm sure they'll be fired up and focused to take on Quadrant here. And after beating them last week, I think they'll be fairly confident as well. But look at this, a trip cap now for Quadrant.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. If you're going to be a professional team, you have to be able to have like that mental reset button. And as soon as a bad play happens or a bad series happens, you have to click that mental reset and jump right in. Hopefully they're able to do that as Ramirez. Cross-map shots are coming in, doing a great job of holding down this top tower side. And they're holding on to 2 caps as well. Camouflage will be coming up very soon here. Ramirez well aware of it, so he wants to hold on to this tower side for dear life, but he has to deal with TchiK, who's going after Bravo, steals away the strongholds. Mangler is out, goes down to 1 shot. The trades are going to come in, but HMCA having numbers right now.
Yeah, HMCA giving up A control, though, which is a little bit interesting. They were prioritizing trying to stop Quadrant from grabbing B, and maybe they could have focused on securing A a little bit. I always say that I think A should be your priority position on this map. It gives you the best spawns and the best chance to fight out to the rest of Recharge. But Riot's now grabbing the camouflage. That's going to allow HMCA a little bit of freedom, but gets hit by a random nade. And that'll just give away his position. He tries to fight for his life, but at least he's still alive here.
Riot's getting the flank, getting shots on 2 different players. The excellent priority as far as the targeting, able to put 1 down to 1 shot, goes in for the challenge, wins that individual gunfight, and Riot showing why he's a dominant force in this map. 3 out of 4 members for Quadrant going down, and now HMCA looking to make a run, trying to steal away Bravo. Shots still ringing out for Riot's. Man, the damage he's putting in is amazing. Not able to get most of those kills, but the amount of damage he was able to do to force multiple players to back down and him for take advantage of it, being as objective efficient as possible. Great job coming in out of Riotz.
Yeah, player priority is something that every pro player is going to get better and better at as we go on, of which are the more important kills? Where should my damage be going? Can I just ignore this player to ensure that I put enough damage onto the other player to help my teammates? In that occasion, Riot's demonstrating that perfectly. I will say that I enjoy watching Riot's POV because he's very confident. He will sit in the middle of a hill and take a fight actively, whereas other players may just cower behind the back trees, for example, but Riot stands full out saying, I will take that fight. And at the moment, it has allowed HMCA to get a little run of points on the board, and they are straight back into this game.
TchiK getting real fancy with that repulsor right there, almost able to steal away A, but sadly SLG and friends able to hop right on, and now SLG going in for the challenge onto Lunny, but Lunny gonna win that gunfight, holding on to that whirlpool control, and now multiple bases going in favor of HMCA. The challenge comes in over towards Charlie Fragxr, able to win that 61-50 in favor of the boys in blue, but both teams really trying to fight hard for that full map control, and neither team able to get it just yet.
The Quadrant are going back and forth from A to C. It's always a dangerous game to play, and that's the reason why. All it takes is one player off spawn to be a nuisance, and it was Riotz once more being the thorn in the side of Quadrant that keeps HMCA scoring here. It's the poor man setup of A and C. They will want to prioritize B. I'm sure Riotz will work his way over there with the camouflage.
Oh. Interesting nade coming out from Riotz right there. Not sure he meant just that, but still able to put NURIX down. So one shot, NURIX ends up still getting the kill onto Lunny. So big kill by NURIX, staying alive, trading off a kill before finally getting cleaned up by Riotz, who ends up getting the shock rifle and uses the mangler as well. That's going to be a killing spree. Almost able to get the double kill. Is finally able to shut down Riotz, but man, the man's 11-5, 5 assists, putting damage. He probably has most damage in the game, I can imagine right now. Riotz is really going off.
Both teams consistently giving up A, getting aggressive and pushing towards B, and arguably just giving up some of the best positions on the map. But maybe Ramirez can make something work here with the sword. He always seems to have the sword on recharge. He does find it in his hands quite often. Goes down there though, so that sword is going to be utterly useless whilst it's at the bottom of the map. And Quadrant still scoring with A and B, and are looking to go for C once more. But again, they've left A, and that's allowed now the spawns to go for A for HMCA. So I understand what Quadrant are trying to do here, Tony. They're trying to be like as quick as Ascend are on Strongholds. But they arguably are giving up time in certain occasions unless you go huge. But it's so difficult to take on some of these competitors who are spawning over A.
You know, it's an interesting brand of Strongholds Halo that we're seeing right now, but I'm not mad at it whatsoever. Hey, if you're not going to win your individual gunfights with the team, it doesn't matter much if you're just out-rotating them, and that's what you're seeing out of Quadrant right now. Yes, they're giving away some points on the board, but, I mean, they're still holding on to a lead, so clearly they're doing something right, and we're going to see if this strategy pays dividends in the long run, as now they're going in for a momentary trip cap, able to get us go B, and once again, like you said, giving up that A Strongholds until SLG decides to slide into that man's DM. He's gonna get the number. That's gonna be a trip cap going in favor of Quadrant, and man, what an amazing play coming out of the boys in blue.
Quadrant are playing this like it was street Strongholds with how they are consistently pushing that trip cap, and if you can make it work like Ascend usually do, then sure, you get so many points, but you have to be flawless. You have to be winning every engagement and making sure you're collapsing it as a team. And Quadrant, they've found some success. They've managed to get a 50-point lead now, and HMCA struggling a little bit with the pace that Quadrant are playing. And they're going to have to try and match it, or they're going to have to try and pin them back into C here to really shut them down.
Well, you're finally seeing HMCA start to answer back. They're able to steal away a double cap, but the question is for how long? Because the Slayers are starting to go back in favor of Quadrant. Another big kill, utilizing that mangler, almost getting the stick onto Lunny, but the information is just what Fragxr needs to come in for the cleanup kill. And just like that, Quadrant are back on a roll. This is a squad that, again, was the #2 team out of EU heading into Raleigh. They've seemed to have a tough time since then, but it looks like they're bouncing back.
Yeah, they really look like a different side today, and they want to be like the Quadrant of old. And the thing is, it's always been there. They've always had the recipe for success. They've just not been able to put all those ingredients together when it comes to game day. We watch them in scrims, and they're 10-1-ing teams. They look so confident on every game type, but then in those best-of-3s, they weren't seemingly finding their footing, but now they're in a best-of-5. They've got through those best-of-3s. This is where they should thrive. But HMCA have also demonstrated enough to suggest that this is going to be a really intense series. Another triple cap for Quadrant, though. They've been so relentless with their aggression. This is so tough for HMCA to do anything off spawn.
especially when you're going 4 down like they just did. That was a momentary 4 down for HMCA. Lunny, the first one to spawn, hopping right into the hill. And the problem is when you're getting trip capped, and as soon as you hop into a hill, you're letting the enemy team know exactly where you are. And that's why you saw the collapse coming in. TchiK going in for the challenge, able to take that one, but not the second one as well. Riotz ends up getting a big kill, and now he's trying to work onto Alpha, but he's flying back because of the knockback. Able to get the assist though. Riotz is really impressing me in this year game.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that HMCA are making right now, is that when one of them spawn at A, they're jumping straight into that stronghold, and it's not allowing the rest of the team to spawn there as well. They jump into the stronghold, Quadrant then collapse, they kill that one player, and then HMCA start spawning over at pipes or something, and Quadrant then have the player advantage. So HMCA just need to be a little bit more patient when they are off spawn, but I can understand them really just wanting to jump in that hill and slow this down.
Another 3 down go HMCA. Quadrant looking so good as they finally put the 250 point on the board. Quadrant are looking like they did pre-Raleigh right now. It is scary. Dan, it is really scary seeing Quadrant look this good.
It is terrifying because Quadrant, like, they were a level above everyone else as well. I know we say Ascend were so far, or are so far ahead of everyone for a short period. Ascend were up here, Quadrant were just a little bit lower, and then everyone else kind of dwindled into that 3rd to 8th position. But then everyone's caught up Quadrant, and Quadrant, they were slacking in recent weeks with their performances in HCS competition. But now it seems like whatever was going wrong, they found the answer, and maybe the answer was all getting together in a LAN center and playing next to one another. I mean, that does wonders for you as a team, being able to communicate and assess what's going wrong. Chemistry-wise as well, you can kind of chat, you can hang out between games. It's certainly being very beneficial for Quadrant right now. You can see it in their gameplay, and that's why they're having so much success. A difficult game for HMCA. I do think that they made a few mistakes off of spawn, but sometimes you kind of forced to make those decisions. When you're on the back of a trip cap, you want to slow things down, you want to slow that scoring, so you get a bit antsy off of spawn. But I think if they look back next time at how they played it, they might assess it and change things up for the next time they try and perform.
And they definitely need something shaken up. And one thing I'm really, at least going for HMCA, is that I promise you, Phlux is not going to have a repeat of that performance. He obviously had a tough game number 1, going 7 and 20 in the stats, but normally Phlux is that kind of leading slayer. He actually has the highest KD throughout all of his teammates, and they've been teaming together with Lunny going into the Pro Series. So I would not be surprised if we see a big bounce back game coming out of Phlux going into game number 2, Slayer, and that might just tie the, change the whole momentum, tie up the series, and we'll be on equal footing. It's a best of 5, so it's plenty of Halo to be played still.
I mean, just looking at these highlights, there's a couple of times where Phlux is singled out on his own in a stronghold. It's one of those where off spawn, he's giving away his position, and then he's being collapsed on. And Phlux is one of those players who really does thrive in an environment where he can maraud around the map and be that nuisance and finish off those kills when the callouts come in and get those one-shots. But unfortunately, the one-shots weren't there because Quadrant were just so quick, they had so much control, and they were collapsing so effectively. It was very difficult to be on the receiving end of that. I wouldn't say it's a really poorly played game by HMCA. It was more so a very well-played game by Quadrant, almost matching the speed of which we see Ascend actually demonstrating how they play on Strongholds games. But going into game number 2, it's an entirely different pace, an entirely different style. Aquarius Slayer, maybe this one will be a bit more comfortable for HMCA.
Hopefully, because if they look as uncomfortable as they did in game number 1, they are going to be in trouble. And it all starts with that camouflage you're seeing in the middle of the map. You do not want to allow Quadrant to get a hold of it like they did over in Recharge. And also, in addition to that, I would say that the hidden gems of this map are going to be the thrusters that each team have on their side of the map. And on top of that, the dynamo grenades. The dynamo grenades do a max amount of damage, slowing down the enemy team, and then also giving you that audio tick. They are so powerful in competitive settings that I'm still surprised we started with 2 of them when picking them up, because you've seen them come into play almost immediately. Riot's the one taking advantage of them.
They're up every 30 seconds as well. That's what's crazy. If you can time them and prioritize them, like, for example, they're going to be back up at 11:20 on that scoreboard. So, like, if you were always there in a Slayer game, just imagine having 2 dynamo grenades every 30 seconds. Like, that is way more powerful than a camouflage every couple of minutes, if you ask me. And there you go, bang on the money, 11:20. You see HMCA go towards those dynamos. Did they get them? That's the real question.
Fragxr and NURIX getting back-to-back kills. TchiK able to get away with the camouflage, also having the heat wave in hands. And now going to get really aggressive. There was 2 spawners over towards the blue base when they're putting some early shots, and that player's actually one shot, easy kill. Going in for the double, making the second one shot. The cleanups are gonna come in, and Quadrant looking just as hot as they did in game number 1, rolling here in game 2.
Dynamo spawning, just to let you know, they're coming up, and there's still one left for TchiK. TchiK does toss that one towards the flag, and you could see the amount of information he was able to gather from it as well. That's what they're so good for, not only the damage they deal, but also the information you can gather for yourself and for the rest of your team. Really difficult at the moment for HMCA. They're kind of under this spawn trap from Quadrant, where a couple of players will be up, Quadrant collapse, 2 players die, 2 more players go up, Quadrant collapse, and it is an endless cycle that sometimes can lead you falling 10, 15 kills behind, which is what you're seeing right now.
NURIX going in for the big challenge, able to take down Phlux. Now going in for the challenge once again on Lunny. His man's feeling so confident, finally going to allow his teammate to get the cleanup kill, and then Ramirez slides in for the cleanup of his own, but over double the enemy's team score line is Quadrant. However, HMCA, couple back-to-back kills, starting to answer back a little bit until Fragxr starts, fragging, whatever.
And I'm sure that HMCA would love to be in a LAN center as well, competing alongside one another, and I do think it gives a very big competitive advantage to the team who is playing side by side. But it's a UK connection. We've got all 8 players competing from the UK, so it's not going to be like any sort of French online advantage, which is what we've all screamed in the history of Halo. Instead, they're playing on a UK connection. But certainly Quadrant, I mean, they look so different, Tony, don't they? This isn't the Quadrant we've watched for the last couple of weeks.
No, and you know what? It was kind of jarring to see this team kind of drop a bit since Raleigh, but man, is it good to see them firing on all cylinders like they are right now. It felt like it was only a matter of time, and you're starting to see that SLG going in for the trades onto Phlux, trading off that guild 27-14 lead, going in favor of Quadrant. TchiK putting some good damage in and then staying alive. Quadrant not only playing aggressive, not only are they winning their gunfights, but also just playing really good fundamental and high IQ Halo.
I think what screams more about how impressive Quadrant are right now is just to think how impressive HMCA have been today and over the past couple of weeks. They were able to take down Na'Vi. Now, I know that we saw Na'Vi drop in the lower bracket as well to the lads, but it was such a good performance from HMCA to do that in the winners bracket and the elimination finals last week. This just screams Quadrant being on their very best form, which is what they needed to do in this competition to show us what they're made of. 32-19. HMCA are just not able to get back into this game right now. Quadrant continuing to push those spawns. Every single time a player is called out, Quadrant are there. They're on top of them. HMCA do not have a chance to breathe.
It's just too much pressure. Too much pressure coming in. You're seeing that right now as back-to-back kills going in favor of Quadrant. 3 down, go HMCA, and the final player gonna fall as well. SLG himself able to get the double kill, and numbers advantage still going in favor of Quadrant. HMCA are having a hard time simply spawning up as a unit and getting that first kill. Quadrant are playing their numbers and playing that aggression and hopping on those spawns. Look at that. All 3 players coming off the spawn, and Quadrant are there putting down the damage immediately. Fragxr coming in with the camouflage, able to get the big kill. Now he's gonna fly over towards P, and you have 3 members funneling here. Quadrant are looking too good. That's the 41 kill mark here for the boys in blue. Have you seen Quadrant look this good, Dan? Have you?
Not since previous to Raleigh. That was when they were at their very best. That was when I was always kind of betting on them to be finishing top 2. Of course, that's not literally betting on them, but just very much figuratively put that out there. But very impressed with what they're doing right now. They're not playing with a particular amount of structure. They're not setting up in any sort of way. They're just running as a 3 or a 4 and collapsing time and time again. And HMCA are so far behind, and were so far behind, that Quadrant could play in this very aggressive manner where they'd be more than happy to trade every single time.
SLG finally going to fall, but TchiK able to get away with the heat wave. Shots are starting to fly. A few misses there, but he has his teammate with him. Just going to prioritize his life here as the dynamo grenades are flying. NURIX ends up coming in with the cleanup kill onto Phlux off of screen. TchiK ends up putting down the shot with the heat wave from across the map. At this point, he's trying to go for trick shots here, as they're now just a couple kills away from coming out with a dominant game 2 win. Excellent job listening to his teammates to clean up that kill. Now he's getting aggressive over towards bottom utility, and that's gonna be it. 15 50-29. How do you like your steak, Dan?
Blimey. Like, that is a statement or a statement from Quadrant. They really just showed a different kind of force. I mean, we saw what Ascend were able to do against HMCA, and it's always worrying when you watch a team get demolished like that, go into the lower bracket and what the mentals are going to be like. But I don't think that this is a case of HMCA getting down on themselves. I think they're just going up against a Quadrant who are out for blood. They were upset with the comments that we and the community may have been making about them after their back-to-back top 6 performances. So they're here to answer all those questions and to say, look, we are a team that you have to be worried about. They, like other teams, were definitely going up against Quadrant in recent weeks and saying, oh, we can take these. They're beatable. They've been losing best of 3s. Well, now they're trying to strike fear into their enemies' eyes once more with performances like this.
That they are. This is the Quadrant that we known and love. This is the Quadrant that we saw pre-Raleigh, and even heading into Raleigh as well. And they might have lost track a little bit since then, but they are back on track here. They realize that, and there's no excuses. Best of 3, best of 5, best of 11, or 49. Just go out there and win. That's exactly what they're doing. This almost seems like a message to the rest of the league saying, hey, don't forget about us. We were top 2 for a reason, and we're going for that #1 spot, making quick work out of HMCA. You know, obviously when it comes to steaks, you know, you got porterhouse, you got filet mignon, you got yourself a nice ribeye, and then HMCA. Those are the premium cuts of steak, and Quadrant are eating right now.
You're making me hungry, Tony. You're just like, I literally went out for steak last night, by the way. I had a filet steak, 6 ounce, perfectly cooked, medium rare. Mwah! Beautiful. Quadrant's performance there, even better. And that's how impressive it was. We go into Bazaar CTF, which is one of those game types where a lot of teams struggle. It's a difficult game type to play. I know it's not everyone's favorite. I even saw, I think Oga2 said on Twitter that he would rather play Behemoth CTF than Bazaar CTF. And, you know, that's a statement in itself, because it's just been removed from ranked, thank the Lord. But now we go into game number 3, HMCA on the back foot, have to reverse sweep against Quadrant. What I will say is that Quadrant, I do think, match up better against Ascend than what we saw against from HMCA. So I think it would be a more entertaining grand final if Quadrant were to get there. But HMCA won't want to allow them to do so. They'll still want to dig their feet in now, try and make a series out of this, come back and show us what they're made of.
Yeah, we're going to see. I mean, HMCA, again, were red hot leading up into this tournament. They got 2nd place literally just last week, and we're looking damn good making it over towards the winners bracket final. So this is a squad that was looking really good until they ran into Ascend. They were undefeated throughout the winners bracket, 6-0, and then Ascend giving them that 3-0, capitalized by 250-0 loss over in their worst game type, being Strongholds Streets. And maybe HMCA haven't been able to bounce back since then, but they have a chance to do it right here, right now. I do not want to see them get swept twice in a row. They need to get a win right now.
Well, maybe Ramirez with the Rockets can be the key to victory here. And certainly the early stages, the Slays have gone in favor of HMCA. A very difficult map to try and get caps on. You have to slay and force the spawns and be very aware of the spawns on Bazaar before you're running this flag. You can also sometimes find success running the flag when all 4 members are up, but the teammates that you've got on the map are able to get those slays as you pull, but it's easier said than done. Lunny, unfortunately, fumbling that one a little bit, might have been able to get to the middle of the map, or perhaps it was an active decision because he does have that grapple.
Love that. Whenever you have the grapple in hands, you take that early damage. Even if you fumble, you can use that flag then as bait, as the nades are most likely going to climb in, thinking that you're going to relay the flag, and then you just grapple it right over, avoiding all of that damage. Excellent play coming out of Lunny, but he's not able to stay alive, and that dynamo grenade going to have a mind of its own, bouncing back. Meanwhile, TchiK and Fragxr starting to eat once again. 2 down go HMCA. And now you're seeing a counter pull coming in. Phlux goes in for the challenge, but not able to get to come out of this one. And the counter pulls in. NURIX makes it all the way over to the side of the map, and that's what happens when you play a team as strong as Quadrant. If you don't capitalize on your slays and on that cap, they will do it for you.
Yeah, I think that was the downside of the time that HMCA pulled the flag. Quadrant were able to not only stop the flag from getting too far, but also they overextended at the same time to get into HMCA's base. Already pulled the flag. That naturally made HMCA hesitate a little bit. Did we go forward? Did we go back? They got caught in 2 mines. Quadrant slayed them, and then they capture the flag because of it. And going a flag up is going to give them lots of confidence here and lots of belief that the 3-0 is very much on the horizon in this series, and already they're going to be thinking about their matchup against Ascend.
Yeah, forget capping 5 flags. It's hard to cap even 1 flag. Most of the time with Bazaar's flag, you see games end 2-1 most of the time is your average scoreline here. TchiK ends up winning a big gunfight. However, Ramirez coming out on top, defending his palm trees, and now having a chance to move up as 3 down go Quadrant. HMCA now have a chance to turn this defense into some offense.
They want to try and time this correctly, though. They don't want to push in now and get too aggressive with the rockets coming up in 20 seconds. So you take this fight, you keep them in tree, and you try and stop them from being able to push out. But SLG at least managing to get one, and that one allowing the rest of the team to also find a couple of their own. So just at the right time, Quadrant push out, they get map control, and they should be able to be rewarded with rockets because of it.
NURIX staying onto his side of the map. He has to make sure he slays out of his base. They cannot overextend without clearing out their base. Lunny goes in for the rocket. Beautiful play coming in. 2 down. Make that 3 down for HMCA. Quadrant now having the numbers. Now it's them on the offense. Fragxr saying he doesn't want the low ground. He wants the high. Going in for the challenge onto Ramirez, forcing him to back down as the nades are flying in. Fragxr able to still get away with his life, and he's still putting down damage. That's actually going to be an assist. And now Fragxr starting to up the tempo. We might see a flagpole coming in out of Quadrant.
How many times do we see that from players where they'll take that much amount of damage and they'll sprint away and they'll hide and they'll just crouch in a corner? But Fragxr knew full well that he could get into a position to still help his teammates. And now because of it, they got kills and they're getting a flagpole. Ramirez falling is going to be very detrimental because he was in one of the best positions to try and stop this flag. And now Quadrant looking to try and double their lead.
And you gotta love the awareness coming out of Quadrant. They know that 1 round of slays is not gonna be enough when running this flag. You have to get at least 2, sometimes even 3 rounds. So they're putting pressure on the spawners that were coming over towards Rocket Alley. A little bit of a fumble for Fragxr, not even able to get it out with the grapple, but luckily Lunny able to get a hold of that overshield. Is any chance his flag being returned to be on the backs of the overshield right here? Great play coming out of Lunny.
Yeah, that was a mistake there from Quadrant. I think they know it. They had a flag cap on the horizon there. I think he was assuming that he could kind of stand on the jump up and pick up the flag from below him. And then when that didn't work, he said, okay, well, I've got the grapple. And then unfortunately, it just wasn't at an angle where it was grappleable. It's a difficult word, so I always just make it up as I go.
What was that?
But yeah, grappleable. I think that's how it's said, isn't it right?
Back on board now with SLG, able to get his hands on the dynamo grenades. It may not be grappleable, but it is dynamo grenadable.
You know how to say it.
SLG now going in for the challenge onto Ramirez. Oh, okay. All right. Show me what you got, Captain.
Yeah, nice work from Quadrant to at least get back on the page after not being able to grapple that flag, because I think that would have been a bit of a tilt factor for some teams. They would have been questioning, why aren't we 2-0 up? We should have been able to get that flag. It should have been so easy to capture it after they got the initial slays on board. But HMCA, that is a gift back into this game that they need to try and take advantage of.
And Riot's really been that player to impress me coming out of this HMCA roster, having the Bulldog in hands. Currently 5-10, but has 7 assists as well, putting a 6th kill on the board right in the nick of time because Ramirez starts to flag what ends up going down, but it's Riot's himself that comes in for the cleanup kill. He also has the grapple as well, so a great job of prioritizing his life here as he tries to defend the palm trees. Both players end up being one-shot and Fragxr to take advantage of that, getting himself a double kill. And here come Quadrant once again.
HMCA trying to be proactive, trying to get that flag moving, but hadn't quite done enough to slay the Quadrant players and get map control to allow it to happen. Very close to getting those kills in tree. And now Quadrant with 1 rocket to play with. We'll see that they can get this flag moving, and that could be a big rocket as well, which it is.
TchiK coming out with the rocket, ends up getting himself a double kill here. Already watching for the overextenders coming towards Rocket Alley as NURIX not able to find the flag. Right, what is going on here? Just sprint. Just sprint. It's over. You don't have to. Finally, NURIX coming in, getting it towards the double doors despite 2 different fumbles. It looks like we're going to see a second flag cap going in here for Team Quadrant.
Now that is definitely something that sets Ascend apart from the rest of Europe at the moment. Is things like that very rarely happen for Ascend. I know we're not watching them at the moment, but just that's who we compare to when we look at the best in Europe. Their flag runs are always flawless, and they don't make those kind of mistakes. And it's those kind of things that you need to clean up if you're Quadrant or if you're HMCA, if you want to be matching the best in Europe. You can't afford to make those mistakes. They were let off on that occasion, but would they have been let off on another occasion?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, I didn't like the flag running technique. You notice how he wasn't jumping at all. When I'm running the flag in Halo Infinite, especially with how heavy it is, I feel like you have to jump and let go of that flag at the peak of your jump. He actually wasn't jumping whatsoever, which kind of making the flag harder to run in that case scenario. Meanwhile, Phlux having a hard time staying alive over towards the cafe, ends up getting a cleanup kill somehow, dropping down from the height advantage, but staying alive. A dynamo grenade coming in from his teammate just to make sure his awareness is on point. Phlux still here. Overshield coming in about 15 seconds. HMCA want to get their hands on this.
I mean, just going to back to the flag running, I think for the most part, the reason why people don't like to jump as much is because it gets caught on everything, does the flag. It's got a height which it hits doorways and it hits tunnels or it hits bridges. It just hits everything. But the thing is, because he was running it under the dynamo grenades, even just dropping it and not jumping, it still gets stuck on that wall. It's one of the worst routes that you can take it if you start dropping it. Of course, it's fine to sprint. So that would have been definitely a lesson learned from Quadrant as they go for a different flag run now. And you have to feel like a third might be too much to come back from HMCA, so they need to make sure they stop this one.
With 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think they want that Zob. They're able to get the return, and on top of that, even a counterpull coming in the curve slide to try to get maximum distance onto that flag, and the damage is in. Riotz coming in for a cleanup and now relaying that flag. However, SLG going to stop him short, so they're going to have to battle it out over towards the Bulldog, and the Cavalry's coming in for both of these rosters.
HMCA know this is their lifeline. This is their chance to get a flag cap and get him back into the game. Phlux able to run it a little bit further, but this is so messy down towards the Bulldog area. And Fragxr getting another kill onto Riotz. TchiK's in the position to get the return. And is that the hopes of HMCA getting back into the series, being flushed down the drain?
TchiK ends up coming out with a big kill. However, the nade from Lunny is going to come out with the cleanup. That's the kill from the grave. All 3 out of 4 members for HMCA going down, and the 4th member going down as well. NURIX now keeping control of the enemy team's cafe with the rockets. Long-range rocket comes in, ends up getting the damage that he needs in order to secure the assist. And now Quadrant are just a few moments away, one slay away from pulling the flag. There it is. Ends up popping up on the kill feed. And NURIX already starting the flag, but he knows he needs to deal with this player over towards the bridge.
Riot's not able to get that one, but HMCA are in a position where they're pulling this flag, and they know they need to pull flags, and they need to get one on the move, because with only 2 minutes remaining, there's not much time to get 2 flags across the map. Alongside the slays, you need to actually successfully run them. It's a big fight here for Lunny. If you get a double kill here, that could be massive. They do get the kills. This flag can start moving. There's still a chance here for HMCA, but the overshield coming up at possibly the worst time for them.
4 down go team Quadrant. Lunny already having that flag across the 50% portion of the map. Dan just said they needed a gap, and here it is. It's still a 2-1 lead going in favor of Quadrant, but there is enough time on the board for HMCA to mount the comeback here. Get to it.
And I saw on the outlines that TchiK was there to take that overshield, and I was thinking that was going to be a detriment to HMCA, but Riotz got in a position to make sure he took him down, grabbed the overshield, and it helped secure that flag capture. So one realistic last push now for HMCA to try and take us to overtime here.
Ramirez already getting aggressive. He knows they need to make something happen right here, right now, but they're not winning the Slays battle. Lunny and Riotz end up hitting the black screen here. Quadrant, no. They're literally one defensive play away from possibly putting this out of reach. So Ramirez, Bulldog in hands, firing it off. A player ends up coming up. That's going to be TchiK, able to get the kill, and now has the Bulldog as well. Quadrant now can fight for the 50% portion of the map that Riotz needs to put in control here. HMCA needs to make something happen. 47 seconds in counting. Plus, they have a little bit of sudden death here, Dan.
Yeah, I think sudden death is the saving grace here. At least they're only 1 flag down. It means that they can afford to be a little bit more patient here. Like, even now with 35 seconds off spawn, you can make one last push work, but Quadrant are certainly making it difficult. They're winning their engagements. They are pushing into the right areas. They are playing extremely defensive, but of course, why wouldn't you? They are just holding on to their lead right now.
Phlux was able to get over towards the rocket alley, ends up taking down one, but that is not going to be enough for them to mount a pull. We're almost at the 10-second portion. HMCA needs to fly. They can't even prioritize their life right now, as they need to make sure a flag is pulled before the counter hits 0. Easier said than done when NURIX is coming at you. Another slate coming in. 2 down go HMCA, and it looks like they're not able to get the pull. Quadrant are going to the grand finals.
Quadrant are back, baby, and it's what we needed to see. I mean, HMCA, again, hats off to them. Another top 3. I know it wasn't the top 2 that they found last week, but they once more demonstrated they are a real deal in Europe once more, and definitely deserve the credit that they've been searching for with their performances, because they have been off the mark pretty quick in these tournaments, and I think that's very impressive. But as for Quadrant, the comeback story, it carries on. 2 back-to-back top 6s. We were asking the question, is there something wrong in the camp? Well, they've all got together. They've decided it's time to prove themselves once more. They will get their revenge matchup against Ascend in the grand final. An all-French affair and Snipe Drone, which is what I always enjoy to say. I haven't been able to say it for a few weeks now, Tony, but it looks like finally Quadrant have regained the success they found prior to Rally.